Good morning, y'all. My name is Mary Frances. I am one of Henry Junwaldi's medical Qigong students. Welcome to Sunday morning medical Qigong practice. So good to see you all. So Sundays are a little different. We've extended, it's not on the schedule, but we have extended Sundays to about 45 minutes for the first set of exercises, and then tacked on 15 minutes at the end for the seasonal exercises. So it ends up being about an hour. So just so you're aware, if you have to run away early, you might want to do some closing exercises first and be aware of the time. We do our warm-up exercises, which is going to be a 3-line relaxation technique. That's what it's called. It actually ends up being about 5 lines, depending on your point of view. And then after that series of meditations, then we jump into the Rejuvenation series. And that's kind of fun because you can really see the difference between the 2 types of medical Qigong practice. The more still meditation and then the more active moving meditation. With any of these exercises, please don't move into pain. So when we're doing the 3-line relaxation technique, if you start to feel a little lightheaded, if your blood pressure drops a little bit, feel free to open your eyes or even do the exercise seated. And then with the more moving meditation, if any of the exercises cause any joint pain, please feel free to modify. We don't want to be like pushing through the pain. That is not so good with the medical Qigong practice. We want to work with our bodies within the parameters, making friends with our bodies and friends with the exercises, instead of trying to butt heads with. And anything else? I think that's it. If you're new, welcome. So excited that you're here. Don't feel like you have to learn all of these exercises all at once. We've been going over them slowly through the months. So if you're just starting out, just enjoy the exercises, make friends with the exercises, explore the exercises, and just try to have fun. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I've done enough talky talk. Just as an overview for the 3-line relaxation technique, we're going to be imagining a waterfall of energy coming from the sky, the very young energy, and that energy is going to be flowing down and coming down through our bodies. We're going to be going over the frontal aspect, the anterior plane first of the body, then the posterior aspect of the body, then down the sides of the head, over the shoulders and the outside of the arms relatively. And then we're going to allow the energy to gather underneath the arms and that armpit area to come down the inner aspect, the medial aspect of the arms. And then finally allowing that energy once again to gather underneath the armpit area in this wonderful shoulder joint action, coming down the lateral aspects of the torso, down the outside, the lateral aspects of the legs, and the medial aspects of the legs. So we're calling it 3 lines. It kind of is 5. All right, so that's our game plan. That's our trajectory. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're opening up. I'm trying to mirror you. We're opening up to the left. The feet are going to be parallel so that the channels are open evenly in the front of the body and the back of the body. The tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth, also connecting the front of the body and the back of the body. We're breathing in and out through the nose. Taking a moment with the mind's eye, the mind intent, to relax the bottoms of the feet, connecting with the earth, that yin energy of the earth. Softening the knees. Relaxing the low back, dropping the tailbone just a little bit, bringing some space to the lumbar spine, and the low back. Relaxing the shoulders, and as we drop the shoulders, also allowing them to come down over the hips somewhat so that they're not rolling too far forward or being pushed back too far. Allowing the arms to hang nice and loose and relaxed. Relaxing the jaw. And bringing the awareness to the very top of the head. Allowing it to maybe open a little bit and reach up into the sky, creating some space in the cervical spine. And then we're simply going to close our eyes. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose at your own pace. We're imagining that we're standing underneath a waterfall of energy. This waterfall pouring down from the sky, from the heavens. We're imagining it flowing down, meeting with the very top of the head, the crown of the head, before then flowing forward through the scalp, coming to the anterior hairline, flowing down over the forehead, over the brow, into the eyelids, entering into the eyes and that orbital socket, circulating here, before then exiting out through the cheekbones, down through the cheeks, down through the bridge of the nose, wrapping down underneath the nose, into the upper lips, entering into the upper gums, the upper teeth of the mouth, circulating down into the mouth, to the lower gums, the lower teeth, exiting through the lower lips. Coming down to the chin, pulling perhaps just for a minute at the chin before then flowing down underneath the chin, underneath the jaw, down through the throat, meeting at the clavicle and the upper chest, flowing down through the tissues, the musculature of the upper chest into the solar plexus, entering into the upper abdomen, circulating throughout the middle abdomen, gathering at the lower abdomen, before then meeting the frontal aspects of the hips, those hip flexor areas, flowing down through the musculature of the upper thighs, the quadriceps, coming down to meet the knee joint, entering into the knee joint, circulating here before then flowing out, down through the shins, the musculature and the bones of the shins. Pulling at that area, that junction between the shins and the tops of the feet, before then flowing down through the feet, through the bones of the feet, the tops of the feet, to the webs of the toes. Entering into the toes, and then releasing back into the earth. Standing underneath this waterfall of energy, allowing this waterfall of energy to take with it anything you don't need or want. Softening any areas that feel a little stuck, any stagnations. Leaving behind pure, clear energy that our body might use. As the mind relaxes into the breath and relaxes into the exercise. Bringing our awareness once again to the very top of the head, the apex of the head. We're now allowing this waterfall of energy flowing down from the sky to travel backwards, posteriorly through the scalp, down through the scalp, to the back of the skull, and all those wonderful nooks and crannies, coming down through the posterior hairline, meeting with the cervical spine, the back of the neck, flowing down through the musculature, and the bones of the neck, down to meet the very tops of the shoulders. Continuing to flow down through the musculature of the upper back, the scapula area, the thoracic spine, coming down through those muscles into the lower back, the lumbar spine. Flowing down into the sacral area, the glutes, coming down where the glutes meet the hamstrings, flowing down, combing through the musculature of the backs of the thighs. Entering into that popliteal fossa, that soft area behind the knees, circulating throughout the knees, before then exiting out through the calves. Flowing down through the musculature of the calves, connecting with the Achilles tendons. Wrapping around the heels of the feet, circulating throughout the heels of the feet, before then flowing up underneath the arches of the feet, to the pads of the feet, the balls of the feet. Entering into the webs of the toes. Entering into the toes, before then emptying out, flowing out back into the earth. Allowing this waterfall of energy to take with it anything you don't need or want, softening any stagnations, leaving behind clear, pure energy for you and your body to use. Once more, bringing that awareness to the very top of the head. This time we're allowing that waterfall of energy to flow down the sides of the head, the sides of the scalp, flowing down through the temples, flowing down, connecting with the ear, circulating within the ear, before then traveling down into the jaw, circulating throughout the jaw. Flowing underneath the jaw, connecting with the sides of the neck, entering into the tops of the shoulders, circulating throughout the shoulder joint, before then exiting through the lateral aspect of the upper arms, that tricep area. Coming down into the elbows, flowing down through the backs of the forearms, the tendons of the forearms, flowing down into the wrists, skipping and flowing throughout the bones of the wrists, before then entering the backs of the hands, the bones of the hands, the webs of the fingers, flowing down through the fingers, releasing from the fingertips, and going back to the earth. Allowing this waterfall of energy to take with it anything we don't need or want, providing nourishment for the sinews, the channels, the organ systems. Allowing the arms to float just a little bit away from the torso. Allowing for more chi and blood circulation. We're gathering the energy underneath the arms in that armpit area, within the shoulder joint, before then flowing down the medial aspect of the upper arms, that bicep area, coming down into the elbows, pooling here for just a moment, before then flowing down through the sinews of the inner aspect of the forearm, softening, relaxing the tendons here, before then entering the inner aspect of the wrists, coming down into the palms, the musculature of the hands, gathering here, collecting, before then exiting through the webs of the fingers, down through the fingers, and then releasing from the fingertips back into the earth. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. One last time, we're allowing this waterfall of energy, this gathering of energy to come underneath the arms in that armpit area. Now we're allowing it to flow down the sides of the rib cage, down through the ribs, the intercostal spaces, entering into the waist, flowing down into the joints of the hip, circulating throughout the hip joint, before then flowing down the outer and inner aspects of the thigh, combing down, flowing down, entering into the knee joint, exiting, flowing down the inner and outer aspects of the lower leg, softening, relaxing the tissues here, before then entering into the ankle joint, circulating throughout the ankle joint, before then exiting and flowing down the inner and outer aspects of the feet, wrapping down underneath the feet, to then exit back into the earth. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. Taking a few moments to appreciate this waterfall of energy flowing from the sky, down through the body, releasing back into the earth. Enjoying that connection between the sky and the earth. Allowing the energy to take with it anything you don't need or want. Nourishing all the sinews and tissues, bones, channels, organ systems. Relaxing into the moment and into the space. ready, gently lowering the arms, opening the eyes. Maybe wiggling the toes a little bit, fingers a little bit. Closing, bringing that left foot back to the right. So that was our 3-line relaxation technique. And it's time for Rejuvenation series. If you need to take a little break, please feel free to do so. Sometimes it takes some time to go from something so still to something a little more active. So listen to your body. Your body is your laboratory, but your body is also your teacher. Okay. Rejuvenation series, the first exercise is the wave. We're inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. Opening. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. In. And out. Now you get to go at your own pace, faster or slower, allowing the breath to dictate the rate of the movement. Getting ready to close. And closing, I'm going to demonstrate the modified closing first. So we're inhaling up to the breastbone. Exhaling here. Inhaling all the way up. Exhaling back to the breastbone. In. And out. In. And out. Our second exercise is the shaking exercise. Opening. This exercise has natural breathing, so you're keeping the breathing slow and even, but it's at your own rate. Closing the eyes if you're familiar with the exercise, and beginning the momentum from the knees. And beginning to slow down. Closing. The traditional closing is inhaling all the way up. Exhaling. In. Out. In. And out. Then we have the infinity exercise. Opening. Inhaling and exhaling. Getting ready to close. And closing. Scoop the moon. This exercise has natural breathing, so it's however feels best to you. Getting ready to close. Closing. We have swimming in Qi. It's a three-parter. You may want to glance around and make sure you have some room. I will be repositioning myself so that I don't run into things that are surrounding me. Swimming in Qi. Part one. Inhaling and exhaling. Transitioning to part two. Inhaling, exhaling, in and out. Getting ready to transition to part three. Transitioning to part three. We're turning to face about 45 degrees off to the left. I'm doing the modified version first. Inhaling and exhaling. The classical version. And getting ready to switch sides. The modified version first. Inhaling and exhaling. Getting ready to close. Facing forward again, closing. And then swimming dragon, also 3 parts. Part 1, inhaling and exhaling. Getting ready to transition to part 2. Inhaling and exhaling. In, out, in, out. Inhaling and exhaling. Getting ready to transition to part 3. Transitioning, inhaling and exhaling. Getting ready to close. Closing. And circles of harmony. Inhaling, exhaling, in, out, inhaling, And exhaling. Natural breathing, so you're breathing at your own pace. You're also moving through this exercise at your own pace, so you can really enjoy the momentum, moving a little faster, or enjoying all the little elements and details by moving slow. Getting ready to close. And closing. And that's 1 through 7 of the Rejuvenation series. There's one more series of exercises, the 8th exercise, the ground exercise that we're going to start working on, I think, next week, next Saturday. But that's Rejuvenation. So go ahead, keep your feet together, bringing the palms together. Transferring some of that energy that we've been cultivating over the past 45 minutes to the palms. Bringing the palms to the lower dantian. Closing the eyes. Inhaling, guiding, gathering all that wonderful energy that we've been cultivating into the lower dantian, allowing it to fill up. Exhaling, allowing that energy to settle and store. Inhaling, guiding, gathering all that wonderful chi into the lower dantian, filling it up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to settle and store so that you may use it throughout the rest of your day. Thank you all so very, very much for practicing with us this morning. If you want to stick around, we're going to be working on the seasonal exercises. They're seated exercises. So there we go. We're going to be moving to the floor. Changing the setup just a little bit. And then afterwards, after the seasonal exercises, there's lots of time for questions and chatting. As we're getting ready for the seasonal exercises, if you want to take a sip of water or tea, I have my lemon water. This is a good time to do so. So we're going to be seated cross-legged in some fashion. You can do full lotus, half lotus, simple cross-legged. It's up to you. If this doesn't work well for your knees or your hips or your low back, you can also extend the legs, crossing one over top of the other. It's really whatever works best for you. You want to be able to relax in this position. And if you're in pain, that it doesn't work so well. So once again, always modify. We're working with our bodies instead of against. Okay. Getting comfy. We want the spine to be able to be elongated. The tip of the tongue is still touching the roof of the mouth. And we're bringing our hands into baby fists, so the thumbs are coming onto the inside, the forefingers wrapping lightly around, backs of the hands resting upon the thighs. Closing the eyes in preparation for the seasonal exercises, the 5th series of the fall exercises, Cold Dew. We're taking in a few breaths at your own pace. Allowing the mind to relax into the breath. Allowing the body to relax into the space. And opening the eyes. Inhaling as we gather the arms, the hands in front of the breastbone. And then exhaling. In and out. Inhaling. Exhaling. In and out. Okay, now you get to go at your own pace. 3 more times, 3 more times. 3 more in the series. Once you're done, I'm going to go ahead and wait. I'm not doing the words very well at the moment. So once you're done, we will go ahead and start the closing series, the closing exercises of the seasonal exercise. When I get done with my series, I'm going to wait a few moments to give everyone a chance to get back on the same page. So I'll probably have a sip of my lemon water once more. And then we'll start our closing exercises. Okay, enough chatting. Here we go. Okay, while everyone's finishing up, we have our closing exercises. I'm going to go through them. We're going to be placing our hands one on top of the other. The palms are face up. The thumbs are connected. Traditionally, men place their left hand on top, women place their right hand on top. Then we're going to do our teeth biting or pressing. 24 times traditionally for females, 36 times traditionally for males. And then we're going to do the tongue swirling. So we're going to take our tongues, extending them as far as you can, and then swirling them around on the inside of the mouth between the teeth and the lips. 9 times clockwise, 9 times counterclockwise. After that, with all the saliva that you've generated and gathered in your mouth, you're going to swish that saliva around in the mouth between the teeth 36 times. That's for everyone. After that, we're going to swallow the saliva in thirds, allowing each third to come all the way down into the lower dantian, settle and store, before then swallowing the second third and then the third third. And then after that, simply closing the eyes. We're going to close on our own. So you'll close the eyes and inhale and exhale at your own pace, gathering all that wonderful qi that we've been cultivating over the past hour or so into the lower dantian, creating a nice happy home for it so it can settle and store, so it is there for us to use throughout the rest of our day. All right, here we go. Thank you, wonderful, wonderful, amazing Qigong practitioners.